because we're special. Yeah, the elusive Def Leppard. No, actually, this has come up the last few days, and we only realised that we've never had any time off. This is the first year off we've had in 30 years. And it's always been like, finish a tour, go into the studio, write, record. So that's always been the brief, and that's always what we've done. And so we've never had time to actually do that. It's always been, guys, you finished yet? Like Hysteria, 3.5 years or something. So we've never really got round to doing it. And this is the first time that we could actually look back and look at some of the recordings, because we record every tour and pretty much every show. So the last two tours, we recorded, pretty much every night. And as we done them, Ronan, our sound guy, would go, that was a perfect take. So at the end of the thing, Joe and Ronan sat down with all these kind of master takes of the songs and went through and weeded them out. So it's timing, really, and time off, really.
Pretty much, yeah. Various points all over the compass, really. It's really weird, because you listen to the album, we've presented it as though it's a gig, you know, just one show. But there I am introducing one song and I'm screaming out Utah, Salt Lake City, and then I'm going, you know, how about you lot, San Diego? It's like, well, it's big. So I had to put in the liner notes, you know, taken from various spots around the world over the last couple of years. So it was 2008, 2009, mostly 2009 actually. We got really tight by the end of the tour. It was like it was hard to pick ones, you know, they weren't bad, okay, brilliant. They were kind of great, much better, you know, okay. They were very, very consistent. In fact, a lot of the songs we actually ended up choosing them because of the audience reaction.
Because we had like 5 years straight of touring, so it was like very consistent. Every year we were out on tour, so by that fifth year, 2009, we
had it down, didn't we?
Yeah, totally. It was great.
It's 21 live tracks.
Yeah, it'd be a double album, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be absolutely a double album. I think the first disc...
That's just pretty cool, eh?
Yeah, the first disc cuts off at about 55 minutes, which would be way longer than a regular, you know, if it was a 12-inch record. And the second disc coming in about an hour 10, because it's got a couple of live tracks that are from like a club. You couldn't actually just insert them into the other stuff that's like in front of 20,000 people, because there's only about 800 there, and you can hear the difference, you know. So they're like bonus tracks at the end, and then there's the 3 brand new songs. So it's actually like
it's a triple album.
It's in 3 parts, and it is a triple album because there's a DVD as well. They came to the project right at the very end, because we didn't really plan on doing any new material, but then just there was like a synchronicity. All of a sudden we just started talking. It's like, oh, I've got this song. Really? So have I. And then Sav's like, I've got this song as well. It's like all of a sudden we've got these songs. That we could have, if we didn't want the album out in May, we could have carried on and probably come up with 12 songs. But, you know, that would have defeated the purpose of what we were doing here. So we thought if we put 3 new songs on, with technology being the way it is and the music industry being the way it is, it's not overly important to do an entire new album anymore. You can just do 1, 2 songs and put them on iTunes, and people can download them. Almost like putting singles out, the way people like David Bowie in the 70s put out John, I'm Only Dancing, and it was never on an album. And loads of people have done it, you know, and we just thought it was a great opportunity to just put 2 or 3 new songs on the record, which turned into 3. So we've got something that we can play live that's new. Because if you're going out to promote a record that's essentially a live album, you're not really playing anything new. So we also saw that as a bit of a, well, not a problem, but a challenge to get over. And it's like, well, 3 new songs sorts that out. So Undefeated is one of those classic arena rock anthems. It really, you know, it's fist pumping, big chords, big drums, tribal drumming, chanting, very uplifting lyric. Kings of the World, which is a song that Sav wrote, is one of these epic album track things. It's just very Queen in its composition. Huge vocals, great big guitars, long. You hear it and it's like, wow, it's just mad. It's really difficult to explain, and I've been trying to explain it for the last week to people. I go, you really need to hear this thing, because it's just nuts. And All About Believing is Phil's baby.
Which kind of sounds like it should have been on an album between Pyromania and Hysteria. So it's same thing. It's very uplifting. It's really cool, and we really dug the new stuff. It's actually great. And you always want to play your new stuff live, but I don't know if we'll get a chance to do all of them. But it would be cool. Dude, you really bummed us out now.
Never even thought about it.
We actually didn't think. We just knew that we wanted to get this out for years. We've been promising it for like 20-something years. Oh yeah, we're doing a live. It's coming out. Just that thing again. Didn't get around to it.
Yeah, notoriously live albums don't sell like studio records do. The exceptions being Frampton Comes Alive, Kiss Alive 1, maybe Live and Dangerous by Lizzie did really, really well.
Eric Clapton Unplugged.
Yeah, exactly. But you can almost count them on one hand, the ones that were like just enormous as opposed to their studio work. So it's not really a problem. It's just, it's out. It gives us a... These days, you tour to promote a record. That's kind of gone out the window. You know, we're promoting the tour really by putting a record out. It's everything's turned upside down.
Well, we always raise the bar. So a light show's bigger. Everything's bigger, better, louder, faster, harder. Really, and it's good. We like that challenge. We do that every time. The songs. We're changing them out a little bit. We're doing different versions, like Rocket. We're going to do the long version of Rocket with a big guitar fest in the middle. We've got production things. Instead of a screen, generic screen, we've got 7 screens. And the lighting show's completely over the top, almost like a Kiss or Van Halen thing from the 70s, So we're kind of going there, and it's absolute fun. It's what great fun it is for us to actually kind of... get that on the go and trying to just make it better all the time. And obviously the new songs, we'll try and work some of them in there. So you have to walk a fine line of like doing new stuff. You don't want to be indulgent, but you absolutely want to play all the hits as well. So it's fun. And Heart, we've never actually toured with them before. We met them once in a corridor, I think. Had a photo taken, that's about it. So and they're a band with loads of hits as well. We've toured with bands that have a huge catalogue over the past few years, and that really works well. I started with Bryan Adams in 2005, then we had Journey. Just recently we had Poison and Cheap Trick, all bands with loads of hits. Billy Idol, Styx, Foreigner. And I think these packages work great. They certainly do for us. Everyone comes in. It's an event. They leave and they actually really remember it wasn't just going to some gig seeing a band. It's like, whoa, that was fantastic. We had actually what was kind of weird about the whole thing. We put an album out, and like any genre that has a massive day. I mean, everyone you talk about the Pistols and the punk thing. There's only like 2 or 3 bands, and the rock thing. There was us and Bon Jovi. Then there's all these pale imitations, and you have in every genre. You had it with boy bands. You had like NSYNC and then Backstreet Boys, and then really awful stuff. You had 2 great bands. I mean, they were really cool, and then you had just nasty stuff. We didn't want to get lumped in with all those other bands that came after us, and that was the thing. We felt that we were leaders, and we are leaders. So that didn't really affect us. We had to change a little bit because of what happened. The 90s come, everyone was so sick of kind of like big hair bands and kind of really kind of banal lyrics and everything. So they moved into the grunge thing, which was a really breath of fresh air actually. But we never felt part of the thing that was threatening that anyway. We still felt we had something really special. So we carried on. We never went away. We never split up. We never kind of timidly retreated. We actually done the opposite. We were King Kong, even if people stopped coming to our shows for a while. We got back on, we stuck at it, and it started kicking in again later on. So we'd never really been affected by it that much because we had our thing. It's our sound, and we're not embarrassed about it.
Pretty much, you get 2 or 3 minutes with each band, and half the time, even if you try and get to the stage, you get snagged for autographs or photos by everybody, because they've got other bands have got their relatives backstage and they want to meet you too. It's if you want a bit of peace and quiet, you go into your caravan and you don't come out. But then you got to do the press tent. You got to go in and do all that kind of stuff. It's very hard.
You try. I mean, we got like 2 minutes of ZZ Top. We saw last time, and
we got snagged by Steel Panther, and they wouldn't let us go. And that was, halfway to the stage. And by the time we'd finished with those guys, we just retreated back to the caravan. So it was a bit mad, It really is difficult. When you've got your own... We'll be able to watch Heart on the tour. That's great, And knowing that they're going to be there for 50 shows, you can catch a couple of songs one night, and then, the third and fourth song the night after. You can watch a set over a period of 2 or 3 weeks if you need to. But when it's festivals, it's, especially if you're headlining, the press that you end up having to do because you're the biggest band on that day is more than most of the other bands anyway. So you
When
know,
you're as
you
fabulous
do
as
what you
us.
can. You know, you do what you can. You sneak up there, watch 2 or 3 numbers of somebody, and then you got to kind of go get ready. Yeah, of course. You know, I mean, they're not necessarily the same kind of music as us. So rock evolves. You know, I mean, you listen to the Killers, you listen to the Kings of Leon. They're, you know, for what they are, they're very popular. They're very good at what they do, and they're just few and far between the opportunities to find a band that you can go, wow, I really dig these guys, like My Chemical Romance,
Muse.
Yeah, you know,
great,
I mean, you listen to them, but there you are. I'm struggling to think of a 5th band. I mean, I really like The Feeling, but they're more of a pop rock band than a rock band, but I still think they're a fantastic band. You end up listening to anything that you can just latch onto. I started listening to the Scissor Sisters because they sound like Elton John when I was buying Elton John records in 1973, you know. But yeah, the Muse stuff's great. I mean, I saw them performing at the Grammys, I think it was, one of the kind of awards shows, and they were just superb. I saw them in Dublin about a year ago, and they were just amazing. They were fantastic. And Kings of Leon, I shall see them later on this year, just before we head out. They're headlining Slane, and Thin Lizzy are opening, and Vivian is playing in Thin Lizzy at the moment. He's moonlighting. There's a recession, he needs the money. And, you know, so there's just less opportunities to catch great bands because they don't get the chance to become great bands. I mean, you think about it, after the Foo Fighters, who've been around for 17 years or so now, and you still think of those as like young boys. It's you're mining again. You're like having to dig them out with a spade. Where's all the great rock bands? And there's just not that many of them around, and it's sad they don't get the opportunities. If you've seen the Photograph video once, you've seen it 100 times because MTV played it every hour for 5 years. Now the only way you really get to see a band is to type their name into YouTube. Which is cool because you get to see it when you want, rather than waiting for it to come on telly. But there's something magical about watching something when you know the rest of the world's watching too. It's like why songs sound better on the radio than if you play them on your iPod, because you know there's 100,000 other people sharing this moment with you. There's an energy to it that you can't explain or touch, but it's there. And that's sadly not around for the new bands anymore, I don't think. It's a great question because sooner or later the Stones are going to stop, McCartney's going to stop. And I'm thinking anybody else around, where are we going there? U2? There's a 15-year age difference between U2 and the Stones and McCartney. And so after U2, you've got Bon Jovi, you've got maybe us that can step up to that particular play, Iron Maiden, God knows even Duran Duran might, because they're still playing. Because these people infiltrated DNA back in the 80s because you were exposed to them every time you turned the telly on. We saw Simon Le Bon sat on the end of a pointy boat. You know, we saw U2, their big hats and their big hair and stuff, and you saw us in the round and all this kind of stuff, and Bon Jovi flying around on wires. You remember them because you saw it all the time. You know, but I don't know who's going to step up. You know, I mean, there are big artists in other fields like Maroon 5 and Rob Thomas and even Jimmy Buffett and people like that that can sell out a stadium. Springsteen, it'll be another one that's in that top layer. But sooner or later, it's like a cliff. It just falls off and everybody's down at the bottom and there's no way for them to get up to the top.
Be cream saccharine, loosen up, loosen up, loosen up. You gotta squeeze a little, tease a little, please a little more. Easy operator, come on knocking on my door. Sometime, anytime, sugar miss sweet, little miss innocent, sugar me, yeah, yeah. So give a little more, take a bottle, shake it up, break the bubble, break it up. Pour some sugar on me, in the name of love. Pour some sugar on me, come on and fire me up. Pour your sugar on me, I can't get enough. I'm hot, sticky, sweet, from my head to my feet. Walk away if you want to. It's okay if you need to. You can run, but you can never hide from the shadow that's creeping up beside you. There's magic running through your soul, you can't have it all. Whatever you do, I'll be 2 steps behind you. Wherever you go, and I'll be there to remind you that it only takes a minute of your precious time. Turn around, I'll be 2 steps behind. But you can't have it all. Whatever you do, I'll be 2 steps behind you. Wherever you go, and I'll be there to remind you that it only takes a minute of your precious time. Turn around, I'll be 2 steps behind. Yeah, baby, 2 steps behind.